So the last thing to do, just talk about, is what I just did then, which was finishing the whole thing into a nice cone. Before this dries out completely, let's go back to where we were. Oh, it's getting really tough to use now. You really do need to use your body weight when it's firm like this. Now I like it this firm to throw large pieces, but it does tend to make thin layers which slide on themselves and then introduce air, like that point there. You can see there's one layer, there's another one, and there's a tearing happening here. You can even pull it apart, peel them apart. Because it's so dry, the clay's not sticking to itself anymore, or rather less effectively. So anyway, before it dries out completely, let's get back to where we were. So we got to that point with our cone and our tail, and the idea is to end up with a shape you can put straight on the wheel and throw straight away on the wheel head. So I need to wind this up. I need to wind this cone up so that this whole tail, all of that bit, gets wrapped around, this bit gets wrapped around the cone. It's trying to all the time, that's what you're doing all the time, wrapping this big chunk here around the cone, but we're going to do it explicitly as we finish off. So what I'm saying is I need to take this whole tail part and wrap it around the cone. It's probably several times, thinner and thinner layers, so I end up with just a cone and no tail. So this is what I'm going to do. I've just got to this point here of kneading. Get to a better position, that's better. Just got to this point of kneading here, and I'm about to carry on, but I stop doing what I've just been doing, which is this. And instead, come up, I move this hand, the one that's doing all the pushing, I move it down a bit, down the cone a bit, to here. So that the heel of my, I don't know what's that, the knife of my hand, this part of my hand here, is just touching where the cone stops, which I think is I'd say is about there. So that's where my hand is now. So I've shifted it from here down a centimetre or two to here. Okay. And now I'm going to carry on. It's like I'm kneading, but a lot less pressure, a lot less force, and a lot more and a lot slower turning of the whole thing. Let me show you what I mean. So, right, what I'm doing is I'm trying to get, here we are, there's the tail as it was, and I'm slowly wrapping it around this whole thing, this way round like that. I'm trying to get that to flap on, to coat the cone, but I can't just move it so that whole lump goes onto there. I could easily introduce some air as I do that, and I find that the time that the air gets into this thing is when you're wrapping it up like I'm about to do now. It's the most dangerous time for introducing air. It's easy to introduce air at this point, and so you've got to be very careful of that. So what I'm doing is what am I doing? There's my hand there. Remember, that part is where the top of the cone is, and I am slowly rocking it. I'm rocking this part here on the surface like this, like that. So imagine this is the bat, the surface. I'm rocking this on the surface, and I'm slowly rotating it as well this way, very, very slowly. So as I rock it, this bit gets flatter, and as I rotate it slowly, that flat bit gets attached to the cone. And I'll show you how slowly I'm rotating it by putting a little mark in the top of the cone there. So watch where that goes, and compare it to the speed at which the mark moved before when we were doing the kneading part. So here we go. So I'm rocking, Can you see that it's hardly moving at all? It is moving, but only slowly. Only as this bit gets thin enough to be allowed to move onto the cone. Let's try it without this hand in the way, see if that helps. It's quite hard to do. Oops, yes. I can't really do it without this hand. But do you see, so it was there, the mark was there, but it's only there now. It doesn't move very far at all. And as I do this, I'm moving this hand down because the cone is increasing in size. And I want this part of this hand to always be where the cone stops, or where the end of the cone is and where the beginning of the tail is, which right now, if I show it a bit more clearly, is there. So that's why my hand is there now. And you can see how much more cone I've got here than I had to start with. So I'm still just rotating it round very slowly. Where's the mark on? There it is. So I've only done maybe a quarter of a turn as I'm rocking it. But because I'm doing this, I can feel this hand again still it's jabbing into this little ridge here that I've made where the cone stops and the tail starts. What was I saying? Yes, very, very carefully and slowly flattening that tail and rotating it very slowly so that there's no chance that the air gets in. I'm not introducing air here. That's the dangerous point, just there. If I did this too quickly and this wasn't thin enough, then it's quite easy for me to put some air back into the cone at this point here, which is, of course, the last thing I want to do because I've spent all my time trying to get rid of the air. Where's that little mark? Slowly rotated, it's gone all the way around to, I think it's almost disappeared, but I think that was it. No, there it is, sorry, there it is. It's almost gone, it was here, so it's gone nearly 3/4 of the way around. And what you get is, as the cone grows, the tail shrinks, and you get a little sort of bobble at the end with a definite... the rest of this still has to wind around the cone. That's what I'm trying to do, get this to wind around the cone, and I'm doing it in the slow way. So there's the mark again. Now I've finally gone all the way around in one... All that time I just went round once. The whole thing just rotated once in my efforts to get the tail to be flat enough, thin enough I should say, to attach to the cone. As you get towards the end it gets faster because the tail's getting smaller. And you can see, I've done this very crudely, I should do this a bit more carefully without talking so much, but actually it's helped. You can see these lines here, they're spiralling around. That's where the flap of the tail has finally met the cone. And if I was doing this with less dry clay, you wouldn't see nearly as much of a fissure here. Anyway, nearly finished. Look how far my hand has moved down. Now it's just here. There's only a tiny little bit left to do. And then that's kind of done. Now often you end up with quite a lot going on here. Cracks and fissures and ridges and so on. You don't, if you do it without talking to a video, generally it's not so bad around here, but first of all you can slap them out. So just, because what you don't want to do is have this is too much like, there's too much of a danger of that becoming an air pocket. So we need to slap them out very carefully. That will do. And then also you can move the whole thing upright and then wind it around. I mean, just waggle it around like that. And if you do so, it smooths out the bottom and it gives it quite a good, nice convex shape. So when you put that on your wheel head like that, again, the chances of introducing any air between the clay and the wheel head are minimal. Whereas if that was a concave shape, or any slight concavity, or any cracks in there, or anything like that, then when you put this on the wheel head, you're immediately introducing an air bubble between the clay and the wheel head. Right, I don't think I explained that last bit very well at all. I'll look at the video and see if it makes sense. And maybe this needs more than one video. As I say, I'd love to hear comments about whether this is this helped at all, and if not, which bit went wrong and could be explained better. Let's try and get this right at least. So thanks for watching that one, and the next one will be finishing the video of mixing clay, stain into clay. So that little ball of stain we put into here, we're going to use the whole ball to stain 12.5 kilos of clay, and this will be part of it. So we'll have to add some more stain to this as well. Okay, I'll stop waffling. That's enough for today.